Alright boys, here we go. Round 12 from Mid-East Hare Scrambles Association at the Yadkinville Stomp in Yadkinville, North Carolina. This used to be a GNCC course, and it's laid out like a GNCC course. There's a lot of wide, fast stuff, but there's also a good mix of tight woods and good elevation change. The layout of this course was really good, and the conditions couldn't have been any better, I don't think. This is coming through scoring, start a third lap. This is my fastest lap for the whole race, and then also the cleanest one I had. So I didn't make very many mistakes during this race. It was just on my last lap where I started to make mistakes. I ended up making a big mistake at the end. So I was kind of panicking to make up time and ended up making another mistake, which cost me my first place. But you can see here that just conditions were excellent. They had good moisture in the ground, the dirt was about perfect. There was only one big mud hole and then a creek crossing, which always gets blown out regardless of where you're going to go ride. No dust really to speak of except for one field section that seemed kind of dry, but other than that it was just like this the whole time. Good tacky clay dirt mix, and about all the good conditions you could expect for temperature, and it was overcast, not hot, all that good stuff. The guy who just got around me, that's Corey Tolliver. He came from somewhere else. He's only run a couple of the races, but dude's moving pretty good. I didn't realize he was actually in my class. I was just chasing somebody. This guy seemed quick, so I figured I would just jump in behind him and ride with him. If I would have known that he was in my class, I probably would have pushed a little harder to get around, but, don't know. So I actually rode behind him. Not feeling like I was being restricted at all, he's just somebody else leading a good pace, so I was just chasing him. This is the creek. They had it set up as a jump, but I'm not exactly sure where the jump part came in, because it was really just a flat entry into a creek face. I guess you could have jumped it if you preloaded and kind of tomahawked into the other side, but I just rolled it every time. I like it when they add stuff like this. There was an exterior line around the outside of this little stump hotline thing, but I like it where they use what's there, so you can jump into these sections where you can make a decision to take a little riskier line, and it pays off if you do it, and if you don't do it, it doesn't pay off. You actually get kind of penalized for it. There are only two hill climbs in the whole thing and one really good descent. This is the mud hole. I think it was just like a spring in the ground, and we ended up hitting it, and it just got destroyed really quick. It was pretty deep. I saw some people getting stuck in it, and I'm glad somebody went through the kudzu and made a path, because that was the way I took that route around every time. It wasn't any faster to go through the mud. This kind of double track trail was really nice. It was you get a good flow. The whole trail had good flow, but this was, you get a good flow going, get moving really well. You're not worried about banging into anything. There's a little exterior lines that you can take, and it was just a nice way to not relax, but it was just a really good feeling trail, kind of hero dirt, hero trail situation. And then it would go out into a field section. It felt kind of like a connector just to get you to the woods, and back over into a little tight section of pine woods that were really well set up, and it was kind of one path pine woods, where really it was kind of annoying because you'd get into sections where there'd be lappers or somebody, just a slower group of people, and you get behind them and there's just 4 deep. It's hard enough to pass one person in single track. Trying to pass 4 people in single track, I haven't figured that part out yet, but you make it happen. It's just doing it quickly is hard to do. And I've seen improvements with the stuff I've been talking about, where I want to make sure I can pass effectively, I want to pass safely, I want to be able to keep myself pushing the whole race, and I want to keep moving forward. And that's, in this race, I felt like I was doing it. And I'm thinking it's about time I need to move up to another class, because if I moved up, I would be out of the C riders where there wouldn't be as much bottlenecking, you know, slower traffic where I would get stuck behind people. I know for sure next year I'm moving up, but just to what class I'm not sure yet. And I was saying about pushing the whole time. Corey actually got me by like 22 seconds at the end of the race, which is kind of frustrating after leading. I led all 5 laps until the last 2 or 3 miles of the 5th lap. And to get beat by that short of amount of time means it was really close racing. It was just really kind of, you know, it's just frustrating to get to that last little bit. You've led the whole time and then you end up in second. I can't blame anybody else because it was my fault in making the mistake that led it to the point where I didn't finish first. And the thing I realized from running Little Brown Jug, where the similar thing happened, was it was just a real slight margin where I ended up in second place. If I can maintain for the entirety of a race and then just keep pushing forward, like I kept telling myself during this whole race, is just, you know, be 2 seconds faster all the time. And it's 2 seconds is easy to make up. You know, you hit a turn and you bog down and you don't execute a turn smooth. Or you make a bad line choice and you get kind of hung up, or you wait behind somebody too long to make a pass. That's where you lose that kind of, you lose 2 seconds. You lose 2 seconds, you lose 2 seconds. And after a little bit, that adds up. So, for my personal motivation, at least for this race, I kept telling myself, be 2 seconds faster. You can make 2 seconds up anywhere, but you can also lose it anywhere. And it was kind of nice having that feeling, that pushing feeling with me, because it was really motivating me to ride hard, and I feel like I rode hard and well for this entire race. This is a little more double track, but a little tighter than the other stuff. There were sections that were tighter than this, and it was just good, good single track pine forest. And this is the stuff, I always talk about how this is my bread and butter when it comes to riding. I thrive in the tight stuff. And to have this mixed in where I can make up time, or, I can get comfortable riding this kind of stuff, it was nice to have it mixed into a race and not just be, all double track or all clear cut or all single, even just all single track is tiring. What this course really felt like was a really good enduro test that you did over and over and over again. I go back and watch all my footage, and then I'm like, man, there's a hotline, there's a hotline, there's a hotline. I got to get better about reading the trail and being able to execute these like little split-second decisions where I can, okay, do I choose to go around this tree and then hotline and see if I can capitalize on this hotline, or do I take the safe road and stay behind this person? Generally, I think from now on I need to make the decision to just, I'm going to get around. I need to be able to push forward and get around everybody. Anybody that comes up is an opportunity to pass, and I should treat it like that. This is where I made my mistake in the 5th lap, is that some kid had fallen over right there and he wasn't stuck and it didn't seem hurt. He was just laying on that little bridge, and there was no other option around besides jumping the creek, and I was turning around to jump the creek, and that's where on the 5th lap Gary and I guess Corey got around me, and then I was playing catch up from then on, which it led to me making a mistake because I wasn't focused on riding well, I was focusing on riding fast and catching people, which is, if you're playing catch up the whole time, it's a little panic inducing. And this is the part where I get around Corey here. He goes up through the woods a little bit further over, and then I go up through the trees, and that was the last time I remember seeing him during the whole race. Another one of those things is like you be 2 seconds faster, is that I'm not sitting in bottlenecks, and I've said it before, I don't hang out in bottlenecks. I'm not going to sit around and wait for somebody to just figure out how to get their bike down the hill so they can take another run at it. If I got to continue pushing forward, then I really need to be able to work on getting by people, and so sitting down waiting for somebody to make their perfect line choice and get their good approach so they can make it up a hill, I'm not down for that. I'm going to make a path, you know, all within the rules, but I'm getting up a hill, or I'm getting by the bottleneck. I'm not hanging out, because all that is a time suck. You're just losing time if you're sitting behind somebody waiting for them to be able to clear an obstacle. This is more of that hero trail stuff. It just had good flow, not weird whooped out or like, you know, big braking bumps or anything. It was just good trail. Because this is another spot I realized where I can make time up, is on downhills. I like downhills. I like to accelerate downhills, and if I had been a little bit more aggressive, I can see it now in the footage, is that I could have probably made a pass there. And so I need to capitalize on that downhill comfort to be able to, you know, make passes and to, you know, make improvements in my riding. And that's what it's all about. Like, I'm starting to see improvements I ride a mountain bike a couple times a week, and I'm starting to see improvements in my endurance and my overall fitness from that. I started doing shoulder exercises because I've got bad shoulders, and I need to do essentially physical therapy on them to make them strong again. And this race was the first time where I'd seen the results of my shoulder exercises, because by the end of the race I had not fatigued down to the point like I usually do, where I'm like dropping my shoulders into corners and it's hard for me to hold on anymore. I was strong through the whole ride, and you can see at my lap times that I was consistent for the entire race and actually was speeding up by the last lap until I made my mistake. I'm still riding this bike a gear higher than I need to, so I need to learn that this bike revs like a 2-stroke, you know, so it's going to go up to 14,000 RPM or whatever. I need to let it rev all the way out to 14,000 RPM, which I need to be screaming this bike and just get comfortable doing it, because I'm still not there. But talking to plenty of people who have these bikes and, you know, the modern 4-stroke reliability thing, I'm learning to push this bike to where I'm comfortable with its limits. This section was really cool. It was just down in a little valley. It doesn't look like much, but it was just this long chicane, and it felt really cool to be accelerating the whole time, and you just bounce back and forth between these berms. And it was, I don't know, it was just a funny little section. It was one of those things where it's like, you know, there's times you feel cool on your dirt bike. That was one of them. So what this place is kind of known for is there's a tobacco barn that you ride through, and this is leading up to the barn. It was cool riding through it, and, you know, spectators all come to hang out and watch, and there's photographers and stuff. And but it was a little sketchy riding through this thing. Like, if you had gotten a little off on it, you get stuck in the back of that barn, even though it's just a little quick ride through. And this is the last little bit coming up into scoring. The whole track, it never really deteriorated. It held up really well. Like I said, it was like a hero dirt kind of situation, and it showed. It was a really good race. I ended up in 2nd out of 16 in Vet C, and we had a really good race. I'll see you guys next time. It should be Chestnut Grove in October. Peace.